looking at resilience of infrastructure. Now, why is that important? I mean, this was the hottest year ever, right? When you're designing your infrastructure today, how are you designing it? Infrastructure lasts for 40, 50, 60 years. How are you designing it cognizant of how climate variability is going to affect it? You know, we see the floods in our cities, we see our power supply getting impacted. So what we are trying to do is unpackage this notion of what is resilience of infrastructure. And the way we've talked about it is in two ways. One, I don't know if you remember, 2 days or 3 days ago, there was a massive cyclone in Vietnam, and then on TV you see this bridge just collapsing. Right? So how do you make sure that our infrastructure that's getting built is not going to be affected by changing hazard types? So what is the data that you need? What is the codes and standards you need to put in place? How do you approach the resilience of infrastructure? The second part of it is, how do you actually build infrastructure so that you're more resilient? Your storm drains in cities, your coastal protection, etc. What we are trying to do is really get into the nuances of the resilience of infrastructure, both from a data side, need for experts who understand how do you take that data and translate that into the right codes, the engineers who are designing it. You know, we all can now design a building for earthquake engineering, right? The codes are there, we've understood it. But heat, floods, these are newish, they're not new challenges, but they're newish in terms of their scale. So we spend a lot of time in that space.
Just a adjoinder to this, the cost involved, obviously the resilience part of it, infrastructure which you are going to do, is going to increase the overall affordability in terms of, so how do you deal with it, particularly when you are dealing in a developing country?
So I think it's a misnomer that resilient infrastructure is more expensive. The upfront cost may be marginally more expensive, but you're saving it over the long term. You know, if your infrastructure is not getting impacted and it's providing the services it's designed to provide, over the long term, you've recovered your cost. So what we're also looking at is, how does your cost benefit analysis right now change to understand your loss of revenue over time that is related to climate challenges.
So life cycle costing, cost benefit analysis, that's what becomes important. Thank you. Piyush, if I can come to you.